Hey guys, this is Mr. Lowry. This is Parallel Line Angle Relationships worksheet. The front page here actually shouldn't be too hard for you as long as you understand some definitions. Okay, so what you need to know are corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and consecutive interior angles. You need to know what those are. If you don't know what those are, I would go back into the day 3 lesson, and under day 3 there is an assignment you can open up. It's not really a homework assignment, it just has a list of things that we talked about. Okay, there's a couple videos in there that you can use to help you understand what those kind of angles are. So use that video, understand these definitions. If you understand the definitions, then it's really easy. All you got to do is look at these and figure out what kind of angle relationships that you have. Okay, I'm going to leave that to you because it's not very hard. You just need to understand those relationships. What I do want to go over with you is how you solve some of these guys. Okay? The very first thing you need to do is you need to figure out the angle relationship, just like you did on the previous page. Then you're going to set up an equation, and from there you're going to solve the equation and find the angle indicated. Now this is kind of tricky. I don't know if you can see this because it didn't, I don't know if it came out really good in the copy, but we want to find the bold angle, and I'm just going to circle them for you in case you get stuck and you're not sure which one you're supposed to find. Okay, so these are the angles that are in bold. They're just a little bit darker. So basically that's what you're looking for. Okay, now you're going to have to set up an equation using one of the theorems or postulates we talked about today. So let's start with this guy. We'll do a couple examples. Okay, first off, what kind of angles are they? They are corresponding angles. They're in the same position, the same corner on two different intersections. So in this top intersection, this is top right, and this one there's also on the top right. Okay, so what do we know about corresponding angles? Well, if these two lines are parallel, which they are, so they're marked parallel, then these must be congruent. So 13x minus 2 has to equal 11x plus 6. Okay, we're going to solve for x, and then we're going to plug that back into the dark one, the bolded one, to find out the measure of that angle. So let's group the x's. Subtract 11x, subtract 11x. So 2x minus 2 equals 6. Add 2, add 2. 2x equals 8. Divide by 2, x equals 4. Okay, that's not our answer. We want to plug it in here to get the angle measure. So 11 times 4, 11 times 4, oh, no, I had it, plus 6. All right, well, that's 44 plus 6, and that's going to be 50. So the measure of this angle right here is 50 degrees. I'm going to write that off to the side. Okay, so that is how it's done. You got to figure out what the relationship is first, then figure out what theorem or postulate we have that talks about that one, and then use that to set up and solve an equation. Okay, let's look at a couple more. Okay, let's look at 13. Now, there's an extra line in here, but don't worry about that. It doesn't actually matter. You can just kind of ignore that one. These three lines are parallel, but that means that these two guys are parallel. So we have parallel lines, transversal, and then we have two angles that are on the same side and on the inside. So that's consecutive, same side, and interior in between the two lines. So what we know about consecutive interior angles is that consecutive interior angles are supplementary when these are parallel. So instead of setting them equal to each other, we're going to do x plus 108 plus x plus 88 is equal to 180, and we're going to solve that. Okay? So combined like terms, we're going to get 2x, x and x. Let's see, these guys are going to give us, I think that's going to be 196. Let me double check that. Yeah, 196 equals 180. Okay, no problem. Subtract 196 from both sides. And that's going to give us, I'm going to code them up here, 2x is equal to negative 16. Now you might be thinking like, whoa, what happened? How come we're getting negative angles? Well, we're actually not getting negative angles. We're just, x is going to be negative, but that's okay. If we take a small negative number and add it to 88 or 108, it's going to be fine. So don't worry about that. Let's divide both sides by 2 to get x equals -8. All right, so that's not our answer. What we want to do is we want to plug that in here, that's the bold one, in order to find the measure of that angle. So -8 plus 88 is the measure of this angle, and that's going to give us a positive 80 degrees. Okay? All right, so use the angle relationships that you know and the theorems about them to set up and solve equations. Okay? Let's take a look at these two guys, the last two. These are, I don't know, they're kind of tricky. They're actually not that tricky, but these are not any new relationships. Okay, you might be thinking, oh, these alternate interior, are they consecutive? I can't remember. These are actually just vertical angles. Okay, so this is actually like the assignment from last week. These are just vertical angles. You can just set them equal to each other. Nothing new about this. I just put them on here to kind of make sure you remembered the old stuff we learned, right? We learned a bunch of new facts today, but that doesn't mean you can forget what we learned last week. So vertical angles, what do we know about them? Vertical angles are congruent. So here's your equation, solve for x, and then plug it back into this one. That's the darker one, the bolded one. Okay, and this one, these two guys, well, they're not alternate interior, and they're not consecutive interior, and they're not corresponding, and they're not alternate exterior. I think I covered them all. These are actually just a linear pair. So I know it kind of is confusing because you're like, wait, this shape, I was expecting it to be something else. This is just a linear pair. But we know from the linear pair theorem that the two angles that form the linear pair have to be supplementary. So x plus 75 plus x plus 115 equals 180. Okay, so that will help you set that one up. Now what you're going to do is solve for x and then plug that number back in here to figure out what that angle is. All right. So that should give you enough examples. I'm just going to give you kind of a quick rundown here. These are consecutive interior angles. These are corresponding angles. Ignore everything else. Who cares about this line? Who cares about this line? None of that stuff matters. We got two parallel lines. We have a transversal. These are corresponding angles. Okay? Again, extra lines, don't worry about it. Ignore that one for a second. We got this parallel line and this parallel line and this transversal. That means these are alternate interior angles. Okay? So, corresponding, consecutive interior, alternate interior, corresponding, consecutive interior, alternate interior, vertical, linear pair. So that's not all of them, but that should help you get started. And again, if you're not sure what those terms mean, you need to go back and study those, study your notes, or go back and watch some of the videos I posted on those angle relationships. Thanks for watching, guys.